Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel on human design. Today we're going to be looking at how to deal with pressure. Now, when we look at the human design system, we know there are two pressure centers. There is the pressure center from the head center, pressurizing us to think if it's fixed, if it's yellow in the chart. And then there's the root center, and it's the root center that I want to focus on today. What is the root center? The root center is this center that is both a pressure center and a motor. And it's a fuel. It's a fuel for the existence of the body and the life. And it contains various secrets in there. And it's something for everyone to really understand where you are in the game of pressure. There are always going to be pressures to live. Pressures to feed ourselves, pressures to have the basic needs necessary in order to live. But not everybody is designed to cope with pressure. And those people that have an open root center, and that's about 32% of us, they're not designed to be under pressure. They can't take all the pressure. There is too much pressure. They will tend to try to get through things quickly, to get rid of the pressure, and then there's more pressure. Or they will tend to try and avoid the pressure. A lot of the open roots think they're lazy because they leave things to the last minute and then have to do it in a panic. And in that panic, in that adrenal flow, because basically the root is to do with the adrenals, they feel more alive, they feel more vital, and then they feel utterly exhausted. Now, I want to talk about this because when I look at my own chart, I have 3 gates in the root center, and they're all conscious. So I have a conscious appreciation of what pressure is really about. My main gate in terms of the sun personality is in the 60th gate, line 1. This is a gate of limitations, and is also a gate of understanding that one has to accept the limitations in order to transcend them. It's so important that people understand you are designed in a particular way. If you've got an open root, you are not here to put yourself under tremendous pressure all the time. Recently, I was digging around in the archives and I found an audio that I did on air traffic controllers, whose responsibility is to make sure that the planes don't crash and that everybody gets home safely. And the manager of the team of the people that I was doing readings for, I did 4 air traffic controllers in the same day. It was an interesting day and something I want to share with you later. But the point is, the manager had an open route. So he was not designed for pressure. And when he came to see me, he had that kind of whiteness on the skin and a cold sweat, someone who was really exhausted with trying to handle everything, making sure that everything was handled. Lucky for him, he had some really good people on his team. And that's one of the things to learn. If you're an open pressure center in the root, then who is going to handle the pressure consistently? And it isn't you. If I give you an example for Ra Uru Hu himself, he was a manifester with an open sacral and an open root. Also had the 60th gate in the open root. And he was under a tremendous pressure to get this message out to all of us, to collate all the information. But he knew that he wasn't going to do it all alone. Right at the beginning, he was very clear, like, well, this has to be done. Who's going to be doing it? Let me create a license with you or give you permission to do this, under the auspices of Jovian. But someone else to do most of it. And one of the things I learned from him was that he would always turn up for teaching us early. He would get there early, he would have his coffee, he'd be sitting there in an empty room waiting for us to come in. He said that the hardest thing in the day for him was just turning up, the pressure to be there. So he got rid of the pressure by being there early, so that he wasn't late. The only time I saw him late was when I delayed him over something, and then I could see that, like, okay, we got to do it now, and it was like really under pressure. He didn't like that. He knew that wasn't correct for him. So one of the wisdoms of having an open root center is to be able to avoid the pressure, to be able to come to an understanding of timing, to understand that if you have something that must be done, because this is the language of the open root, it must happen. It has to happen. It is something to understand. I mean, this is an emergency energy for adrenal when it's needed to save your life. It's not messing about. So one of the things is to understand that you've got to see that you've got to give yourself more time, and you've got to slow down. Now, I've mentioned this before on previous videos, but I want to go further now. I want you to understand, for those of you that have a defined root center, and that is the majority of you, that you're going to handle pressure in a particular way according to the nature of your root. What do I mean by that? I mean, in my case, for example, I have 3 root gates. So I am under pressure in the 52 to make things better, and also to be joyful in the making things better, in the improving of things, because of the nature of that gate in me. I'm also here to find my purpose, to struggle for my purpose, to fight for my purpose, to be involved with things that are healthy for me because they're on my purpose. And I'm also here with the 60th gate connected to the 3rd gate to, as I say, transcend the limitations, deal with the limitations, accept that they're there, and then move forward knowing that they're there in order to bring something new out. This is how I handle stress and pressure from the outside. Basically, I'm not having it. I'm not someone that hurries. I'm not someone that will be putting up with someone else's hurry either. You know, I just don't do it. I'm a very stubborn person. I just won't hurry, but I will get everything done in my own way, in my own time. And it's one of those things when I go on to speak publicly, maybe the talk is there to start at 6. If at 6 o'clock I'm not feeling in myself ready to go out and speak, then I will wait until my internal pressure is such that it works for me. And this may be a minute or 2 later than when we're supposed to start. So one of the first things to understand about handling pressure is that you have to come from a sense of stillness and joy in yourself. One of the great lessons of human design is that we are all here really to live a life that is both tranquil and joyful. And one of the things that takes away our tranquility and our joy is pressure, is stress. So you've got to deal with it. We've all got to deal with it in one way or another. And those with the fixed roots will deal with it in their own way. So let's take this further. When we look at the root, we can see that it is pointing to the sacral, it is pointing to the spleen, it is pointing to the solar plex. These are where the pressures are joined up to other centers. The root center energy, this motor, is so powerful. It doesn't go directly to the throat. It has to pass through other centers in order to get there. Think about that. Think about that in the mad rush to get something done. You know, the root pressure does not directly go to the center of manifestation. So from the splenic side, it is the pressure, in my case, the pressure to fight for my purpose, to be on purpose, to be healthy in that if I'm on purpose, and also to have a joyful time doing it, to be involved in something that I find joyful, in making things better, and often in making things better for other people. I get a great deal of pleasure out of that. With the 60th gate going to the 3rd gate, I'm here to do something about the pressure. I'm here to work with that energy to bring something new out. And there are a lot of gates in the sacral that I have lots of different ways of working, of doing things, of being able to do things. The 60th gate going to the third gate, this is the channel of mutation. This is a very unstable base. It's pulsic. You know, it's there or it's not there. And when it's there, it's full on. It's under pressure to do things. And because of the different gates that I have in the sacral, I'm going to do things according to my response and according to what gates that I've got in that sacral. So let's make it simpler. If you had someone with just the channel of mutation, and within the sacral configuration in them, they would have the fifth gate. When going into something new, if they can't work on their own rhythm, they're going to be more chaotic. The pressure is going to be more out of control because they don't know what is involved in getting it done, and they have to do it in their own rhythm, in their own timing. And that's something that time itself sorts out. If you stay doing something for long enough, you get to know roughly how long things take. You can then put it into your own timing and everything flows so much better. So when it comes to doing, it's also about what you've got within the sacral into how you're going to use that root energy in doing something with it, in getting things done. The other side goes towards the solar plex. So the solar plex, I have no gates on the solar plex. So a lot of what I've had to learn in this life is dealing with emotional pressure from the outside, dealing with how other people feel, not having any of the receptors in order to deal with that in a fixed way. Remember, anything that's white in the chart, in terms of the gates or in terms of the channels, this is what we're here to become wise about. This is what we're going to meet. And in that sense, this is what I have been under pressure with a lot of my life until I found out about human design, and still working on that because there are no receptors. So each of us will handle pressure depending on what our precise makeup is. And this is what I want you to really look at your own charts again and go, well, look, am I here to deal with pressure? You got an open route? No, not consistently. Can you set it up? Can you manage it with people that can handle pressure? Yes, you can. Remember, the open centers can be centers of great wisdom. And those of you that have the fixed route, well, you're there to deal with that energy in very specific ways. I know there are certain things that you're not going to be dealing with very well if you don't have a fixed way of dealing with it. It's something you're going to have to find out about. It's something that you will receive pressure in learning how to deal with it. And so it goes on. I want you to think about the root also as an adrenal energy to help us evolve in our own life, you know, to move in our own life, to be really who we are. And some people are under pressure internally, and some people aren't under pressure internally. One of the main things to avoid in all this pressure life is not to get to the point where you end up just blocking out from it all. Open roots, especially as they get older, can go, well, I'm just not going to handle any of it anymore. I'm not going to handle anything. And the life becomes very narrow. And they can end up doing very little and just surviving. The quality of the life is important. I mean, it's not enough just to live. You're here to have a joyful life, and you're here to come from a place of stillness in the beginning of things. Come back to that. See in your own makeup how that can fit together. Think about it. Watch it in your own life. It's the waking up process is yes, you accept your design, but then in living it, you get to see the subtleties. In living it, you get to see what works and what doesn't work. And there is always a mechanical perspective for you to learn from. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my my discussion on pressure. I hope you'll think about it, and If you've enjoyed this, then please like and share and subscribe. And I'll be back very soon with something completely different. Bye for now.